Mr. Cline?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Madam Secretary, for being here.
Morning.
Good morning. I want to talk to you about BIDOL, which generally allows federal contractors to take ownership of patents on inventions created with federal funding. As you know, the federal government has the power to march in and grant compulsory licenses to third parties in some circumstances. On December 8th of last year, NIST issued a draft framework to provide guidance to federal agencies on what to assess when considering whether to exercise march-in authority, and explicitly included price as a factor for the first time since the act was passed in 1980 with strong bipartisan support. The authors of BIDOL have stated that the law makes no reference to a reasonable price that should be dictated by the government, and that this omission was intentional. Aren't you concerned that the administration's proposal to consider price as a factor for exercising march-in rights will send us back to a time when government-funded research just sat on the shelf, not benefiting anyone?
Yeah, so let me say this. We stand strongly on the side of IP protection, and the document to which you're referring is non-binding. It is a, interagency memo for guidance, which is just that. All of this is a balancing test. The president has rightly focused excessively, extremely on bringing down the cost of pharmaceuticals and bringing down the cost of medicine and drugs successfully. But I don't want to give you any impression. We stand strongly on the side of IP protection.
Thank you. Let me stay with IP. Over the past decade, standards essential patents, SEPs, have become a focal point of controversy. The European courts, notably in Germany, frequently issue injunctions against U.S. companies for the use of common industry standards, such as Wi-Fi, which do not align with the practices in the United States. These injunctions don't serve to address competitive harms, but instead to compel companies to agree to excessively high royalty fees. The recent establishment of the Unified Patent Court in Europe poses an increased risk, as its injunctions will have broader implications across multiple countries in Europe. Given the significant impact of these legal standards on U.S. businesses, can you explain the administration's stance on the proposed EU regulation concerning standards essential patents and how it plans to stand up for U.S. companies in the face of challenges posed by entities like Huawei and others who engage in aggressive patent monetization?
Yeah. What I can tell you is we just had Kathy Vidal, who runs the patent office in China, focused on many of these issues, and she was recently in Europe. I have to get back to you with a proper answer, but I will do it, and maybe you and Kathy and I could have a phone call and go into the details.
That'd be great. As the President's principal advisor on spectrum issues, NTIA plays a critical role in ensuring the technologies of the future continue to advance. The U.S. telecommunications industry is developing and deploying 5G technologies, but is at risk of falling behind our adversaries like China due to a gridlock on spectrum. Do you agree that the United States must restore the FCC's auction authority, and when it does so, identify a pipeline of spectrum that can support commercial innovation and U.S. leadership?
I do. Here's what I think. I think certainly we need to restore their auction authority. I think this is a balance, which is to say we support a NTIA studying the spectrum, seeing what could be made available, and looking at maybe spectrum sharing. DOD needs what it needs to do its mission, and a lot of this spectrum is really important. But I strongly support figuring out how we can find some spectrum to advance commercial innovation without ever impairing their mission, and I think it's possible. By the way, here's what I also think. We can't think of national security so narrowly. That's what I said this before. Like, national security isn't just tanks, missiles, satellites, et cetera. It's also our ability to outcompete Huawei, our ability to outcompete China. And so if you look at the amount of mid-band spectrum available, say, in China versus here for commercial sector, we got a lot of catching up to do. So I think it's complicated, and I don't want my comments to be interpreted as saying, go take from the DOD whatever we need. But I do think it's a discussion we have to have, and we absolutely need their auction authority reauthorized.
Thank you. One more. NTIA has approved only 4 states' BEAD plans so far. You've testified repeatedly acknowledging that the underlying statute prohibits NTIA from regulating broadband rates, and you're not rate regulating, not price setting. But I'm hearing that approval of the plan by my state, Virginia, has been held up because it declined to do just that, set prices at NTIA's request. It's been nearly 5 months since NTIA approved Louisiana's plan, which was submitted at the same time as Virginia's, and Virginia has still not been approved. There are no remaining outstanding issues, as I understand, with Virginia's plan, under the rightful acknowledgement that neither NTIA nor the state have the authority to set prices as NTIA is requesting. So can you commit to approving a state plan that complies with the law's prohibition on rate regulation and specifically approving Virginia's plan as submitted to NTIA?
I cannot commit to the last one. I'll commit to the first one.
Okay.
Let me say this. These are super complicated. There'll be more next week and more the following week. We're getting our flywheel going. I will look in on Virginia when I go back this afternoon. What I can promise you is we aren't rate regulating. We are not telling any state, including yours, if you don't provide it at X dollars, we're not going to, give you the money. But the statute requires us to have low-cost options. So we are obviously pushing states to make sure they're providing low-cost options. I will tell everyone here that, by the end of this year, by the fall, I'm pushing the team to have all these plans approved. I meet with them every week to say, where are you and how to go faster? And, I'll look in on your plan.
Thank you. Yield back.
Ms. Bing?